It was for specific. Like I'd been having a bad day, or I had a cold or something, and I needed like a bit of sugar, and there was no like biscuits or anything, so I just put some sugar in my tea.
Oh, duh. Will you put sugar in my tea because I had a bad day?
I put my own sugar in my tea, Edgar.
Lord of the Rings, right? Is that a mythology?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Didn't he explicitly write it to be an English mythology that would be analogous to the kind of the German and Saxon mythologies?
Yeah, he did. But does that make it a mythology? Can we put it in with like the Greek myths and the Norse myths?
I would intuitively say no, because it doesn't have the same cultural weight, because it's not... Like, I would imagine that mythologies mean that they actually represented something about the worldviews of a group of people, and of disparate groups of people over different times, and the different interpretations of, you know, what Loki represented, or, you know, what Thor was, represent different things about those cultures over that period. But Lord of the Rings, while drawing on that, is very much Tolkien being a 1940s, 1950s Englishman.
Yeah, but he addresses, like, concerns of that era, that people had in that era.
Yeah, but just of that era. It's kind of one-dimensional in that sense, that there's only Lord of the Rings, that single work. And, look, there's his whole, the whole Middle-earth canon or whatever. But it's only that, and it's only the work of one creator, so there isn't a variety of interpretations of the same kind of core concepts, like there is for the different versions of Greek myths and the different versions of Roman and Egyptian myths. They have all been told in different ways by different people from a variety of quite different cultures.
Okay, so...
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, of course. So that means Lord of the Rings could become mythology if given enough time. And if we lose where it came from.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I've actually... This is interesting you bring this up, because I do have some thoughts on this. I think that, in a way, superheroes and possibly Doctor Who is more like modern mythology, because it's written by different people, and it's archetypal characters used to explore different issues. And especially if you give up on canon and things, because there's no canon in the myths, because they're all different people's traditions, and different storytellers would come up with different things. So, in a way, like, you know, what is this Captain America story about? Well, it's about American jingoism. Or this Captain America story is about, like, I don't know, the Great Depression or something.
Okay.
So I think that you can make a case there that they're sort of more like modern mythology.
I would never have thought that. I totally get it. I'm totally on board with that. I think that's a great idea. But I would never have intuitively thought about that. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. I'm sure someone has written something on this somewhere. I've never come across it, but I've discussed this with a few people. One of my friends did write his thesis on Captain America.
No way.
For example, yeah, and how, like, different writers and the different, like, story arcs in different versions of Captain America over the last, like, 30 years or something reflect the different kind of concerns of contemporary American thought and American politics.
What was he studying?
Design?
Really?
Yeah.
And he worked in Captain America. That's brilliant. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I can pick his brains about it if you want. And
dude, that's really interesting. I think that's a really cool idea. I ran this question by the captain.
Yeah.
And the captain is a sort of enthusiastic lover of fairy tales and mythology.
Yeah.
And I talked to her about this, and she was adamant it was no. For much the same reasons that you've given. Stuff like it was written by a single guy. There's no, like, tradition of passing it down, and, like, this Chinese whispers element to it. So she was very much of the opinion Lord of the Rings is not a myth. And I'm not quite sure. I think we need to wait a bit, and I think it'll get there.
Yeah. Which means that it isn't currently, though.
It's not currently. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I just thought I'd run that by you. The captain was also interested in hearing what you had to say about it. So thank you, man.
You're very welcome.
All right, shall we do some follow-up?
Sure.
Okay, so first topic of follow-up, right? This is going to annoy you something serious, but I'm just going to do it anyways. We had a comment in the Reddit from Head58,
Okay.
who rightly pointed out that we spend a lot of time talking about base 12.
In the last episode,
Yeah, and extolling the virtues of base 12. And then immediately I switched to saying that we're having a base 10 season.
Mm-hmm.
Right, now do you see where I'm going here, Bill? I think we should have a 12 episode season.
I mean, the only thing that annoys me there is that we made the declaration in the last episode, and now we're rescinding it.
Yeah, totally, but that's okay. These are naturally evolving things. I think this is a great idea. And as well, like, I didn't get my act together in time, and I haven't got around to putting up a YouTube channel yet. So, an extra 2 episodes will really help Edgar on the whole, like, scheduling thing.
But, a new YouTube channel?
Yeah, you remember the Art of the Podcast YouTube channel?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
I haven't got around to that because of work and stuff, so...
I thought that was just going to be another series on the main channel.
Oh, no, it's going to be a separate channel.
Cool.
So, I would like to do 12 episodes. Is that okay with you, Bill?
I mean, that's fine by me. If we're doing it monthly, then that actually works quite neatly.
Because it matches up with the year.
But wait, hold on. How... But we started in, like, April.
Yeah.
There isn't 2 months left until April. Did we do, like...
We had...
Oh, because we released loads all at once.
We had 3 ready to go.
We launched 3 at once. Yeah,
we launched 3 at once.
Okay.
So we're just syncing up with the year.
We will be. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay,
that's fine.
so and so we're going to number it like this, right? We've had episode 0 through to 9.
Yeah.
Okay? And then today's episode is going to be episode X.
Right.
Pronounced Dec, I'm told. The Dozenal Society of America tells me it's pronounced Dec. Then the next episode's going to be episode E, which is pronounced L. And then the 12th episode is going to be episode Do.
Okay.
So you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, X, E, 10, and then loop around.
But that's 13. If we start from 0, that's 13.
Yeah, but the 10th episode, or the 12th, is the start of the next season.
Okay, but wouldn't that not be then 2.0?
Oh, is it 2.0? What?
Because it's the second season, episode 0.
The second season, episode 0? What?
Oh, no, so it won because we're doing computer counting. So yeah, I get you. Well, there isn't a point to divide season from episode.
There isn't a point to divide season from episode?
As in a period, a dot to divide season and episode. It's actually just going to be 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, not 1.0, 1.1, 1.
Oh yeah, no dots.
Okay, yeah, no, then I'm on board.
Okay, and then you can still tell what season you're on by the leading digit.
Right.
Alright? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of daft, but it's no more daft really than anything else.
I think it's beautifully hilarious. And like, let's face it, I don't think this podcast will ever like blow up and become massive, right? So we can do these type of things without having to...
You're just saying that so that when we are hugely famous in the future, you can look back and be all humble on like some interview when they play this clip back.
I will never listen to any of our old podcasts. I can't. I
just broke my pen.
Oh, just break your pen. Oh, I'm really sorry, Bill.
Sugar.
Have you got another pen?
I do, yeah, but I pulled the nib out by accident, and now I think ink is going to go everywhere. Oh god, this is the worst day of my life.
Good start to the episode.
Ink everywhere. Okay, no, I fixed it. We're good.
Okay, disaster averted. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So,
sorry, listeners.
We're going to have 12 episodes per season just to mess with yous. I think Head 58, great idea.
Cheers, Head.
Alright, now, so second point, we received a message from a Redditor called UCLA Need a Programmer, which I think is which is a brilliant username. And without reading it all out, the gist of it is that he really likes the podcast, which is great.
Cheers.
And he also listens to it while tuning lasers in the lab.
Okay.
So, and he even mentions here, literally, we are a part of his construction of death rays. And I just wanted to read that out because that is class. To know that someone is listening to our podcast while, like, tweaking the optics of his death rays in some lab somewhere. Just brilliant.
UCLA needs a programmer. When you hold the world to ransom, please remember Edgar and Bill.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Don't... Can we have some role in your horrifying new world order?
Oh,
Can we be like ministers of propaganda?
Oh, that would be a great idea. I'd love to be Minister of Propaganda.
Yeah. I think we'd be good at it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we already have a radio platform.
Yeah.
With which to, like, you know, send the propaganda out there. I think we're ideal candidates. In fact, I think any new world order without us would just fail. It would crumble straight away.
I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I think you're probably right.
UCLA need a programmer. You've been warned. Think of us, alright? Alright, so that's point number 2. Point number 3, have you heard the news about Star Trek?
That there will be a new series, a new TV series.
There will be a new TV series. I am not very optimistic about this, but it's kind of fun news for Trekkies everywhere.
How are you not optimistic?
Because it can either go one of two ways. It's either going to do, like, just rehashing old Trek.
Yeah.
Or it's going to go and continue the new Trek things that the J.J. Abrams has set up. Mm-hmm. Which I'm not very fond of, because Trek isn't an action thing. Trek is about commentary. And those new films are all action and no commentary. And if the new series does that, that's going to be an epic fail. So I think it's
I reckon you can make the point that the first episode, or the first J.J. Abrams film has the commentary that women are just there to be dead mothers and to take their tops off. But, you know, that's just me.
Yeah, okay, let's put it differently. Trek usually has valid commentary. Yeah?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, just those J.J. Abrams films are just, yeah, they're not good. So I'm looking forward to, like, being able to watch a new Trek when it's out. Like, that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
But I haven't got hopes on it ever touching, like, Deep Space Nine or The Next Generation. So anyhow, the reason why I bring this up is that the internet has been awash with speculation as to what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I've heard a couple of really bad, I don't know if they're rumours or leaks or something, but a couple of worrying things. One, Captain Worf.
Right.
You remember Worf from The Next Generation?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an idea that he could be the captain of the new Enterprise or the new ship.
Right.
And that's not good.
Why is that?
Because it's just like new characters, people, you know? Come up with new things. Don't just, like, you know, get all the old folks on. And, like, Worf had his time and, you know, he was a great character. I loved him. But don't rely on the old stuff. They got to do something new and creative, I think.
Yeah. And he was in Deep Space Nine for a lot as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in Deep Space Nine. I wonder, was he in Voyager? Because at the very start, Voyager takes off from Deep Space Nine.
He may have been in the first episode, or he may have, like, appeared occasionally or towards the end or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I know for a fact Quark. Do you remember Quark?
The Ferengi?
The Ferengi guy. He was in The Next Generation, not as Quark, but he was in The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Obviously in Deep Space Nine, and he was in Voyager. He was in that first episode.
And sure, the guy who plays Tuvok is one of the mercenaries in the best Star Trek Next Generation episode.
Okay, whatever you say, Bill.
Okay, a quick look at Wikipedia suggests he wasn't in Voyager.
Oh, that's a shame, because he's a pretty, like, long-serving member of the Trek world. Do you know the guy who played the clone in Deep Space Nine? What's his name? Oh, Wei-Yun, that's who it is. Wei-Yun.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, Google him there.
Oh, yeah, that dude. What about him anyway?
I think he's been in just about every single Star Trek. Obviously not the original series. He has appeared as so many characters. And even in Deep Space Nine, he has appeared as 2 characters in the same episode of different, like, races.
That's great.
This guy's just mental. Like, so if they do new Trek, he's got to make an appearance somewhere, just as a minor character, just to have to do that. Anyhow, I'm getting sidetracked here. The other horrifying thing I read was that they were going to set it in the academy.
Right, so like Star Trek High School.
Yeah, exactly. I was really worried about that. You know, like the OC, but with aliens. And I was like, oh. So I hope that doesn't happen. And finally on this, we had a comment in the Reddit from a TF Sakon, I believe, who has an idea for the new Star Trek. And actually he posted this, or that person posted it before we found out about the news of the new Star Trek. It's pretty cool. He calls it Star Trek Exodus.
Right.
And his sort of summary of it is that a flotilla of Federation ships escape away from a galaxy-scale catastrophe. Those who escape soon encounter smaller escaping groups from the main powers of the galaxy at the time. So, everyone is fleeing some sort of like omnipresent disaster, and they've all become kind of like migrants, and they all have to like work together and put aside differences and the conflict and that. And I think that's a really cool idea. It's like post-apocalyptic galaxy, which I really like.
Star Trek Galactica.
I said in the comments, I was like, it has themes of Battlestar Galactica to it, which I think is absolutely fine. Battlestar Galactica is great. If you can mash the two of them together, I think that'd be class.
Yeah.
So I just want to
I know Stargate Universe was kind of Stargate Galactica, and that was all right. I don't think it really did it as well as Battlestar did. It would be interesting to do it with multiple civilizations.
Exactly. So you have like the Borg and like the Federation fleeing a common enemy.
Yeah,
that would be really cool, and see like how allegiances change and all of this. And I was thinking to myself, there is at the end of Voyager, they discover like a sort of like highway intersection of like hyperspace tunnels that the Borg use.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, just on this idea of Star Trek Exodus, it could be a case that all of these different civilizations are trying to find those tunnels and use them as kind of like hyperspace jumps away from the galaxy. Mm-hmm. So you have like this mad dash to these like hidden locations that no one really knows. And I think that'd be a really cool like additional point on Sakon's idea.
I think that would be very cool. I don't think they would do it because I don't think they'd upset the status quo of the setting that much.
Here.
Shame.
Well, I mean, the films upset the status quo of the setting something serious. I don't think people have any problem upsetting. They did. They completely changed everything about it.
Doesn't matter because it's a new continuity.
Oh, do you know? I hate that. We will stop talking about Star Trek in a second, but I really hate this. Like, it's the alternate Trek, or it's a new timeline. It's like, no, what you've done is you've just made a bad Trek with like completely different story arcs, and you've just trying to shoehorned it into this different timeline. I don't like it.
Okay, I can see an objection in this specific instance, but in general, that's what I'm talking about with mythology, because this is another example of that. It's the same kinds of characters being used to tell slightly different stories. So it shouldn't need to be a slave to the original because it's all fictional anyway. So why not use the same characters to tell different things? Yeah, and they just call it a new continuity just because people get pedantic about that kind of thing.
People like Edgar get pedantic. No, I'm still more of opinion that I'd like to see new stuff happening. I don't really want to see like the 10th like incarnation of Kirk. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just a personal thing, you know. So anyhow, there's a little bit of Star Trek news, new series, and a really good suggestion for how that series should go by TF Sakon.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
All right,
I would like to see that happen.
I think it'd be cool, and I really want to see something post-apocalyptic, something that's dark and dirty, and you know, all rules are off, and you know, that sort of thing. So we talked about Harry Potter the last time, and we talked about Base 12 and how Base 12 works really well because it can be divided by a whole bunch of lovely numbers.
Right. And
a Redditor by the username Silverus or Silverius, something like that, Silverus, writes that, and I wasn't aware of this, in Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling has set up like the worst currency system ever. Mm-hmm. So he says, now I'm just going on this comment, he says that there's 29 nuts to a sickle, and then there's 17 sickles to a galleon.
Yeah.
Alright, now 29 and 17 are both prime.
Okay.
So it's rubbish for dividing things. And it's like, he works it out that the only way this system works is that if the people just carry like monumental amount of like sacks of stuff on them, sacks of currency, because there's no way of having like small change for anything because of the way everything's divided.
Yeah, like you're not going to have like a 5 nut piece because that doesn't go evenly into a sickle. Exactly.
He points out that he hopes this is J.K. Rowling trolling the imperial system. And I hope it is too. Because if this is serious, that there's like 29 nuts in a sickle and 17 sickles in a galleon. That's just terrible. Like,
Well, I mean, bear in mind that the world of Harry Potter is, still kind of pseudo-feudal.
well, yeah.
It's barely beyond medieval in a lot of respects.
Yeah, but any real-life currency system surely must work better than that.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, but I mean, up until decimalization, currency was quite complicated. Okay, say there were 140 or however many it was pennies to a pound, but like guineas and shillings and crowns and things, they were all kind of like competing levels of subdivision that didn't all equally go into each other.
Like, it's crazy. Like, why didn't people standardize this stuff fast? Like, and then when they
did, there was just multiple competing standards.
Oh, yeah. And that's part of the confusion over Napoleon's height, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Napoleon wasn't that short.
No, Napoleon was average height, wasn't he? He was like my height. And we only think of him so short because we take the measurement in like the archaic units and just plonk it onto metric and go, he was 5'1", haha, lol.
No, it's a disparity between the French and English feet at the time.
Okay.
They were counted differently. And that was a contemporary confusion, or a contemporaneous. It was a confusion at the time, whatever the correct word for that is.
Okay.
And for that reason, he was portrayed as short in English propaganda.
Oh, right. Oh, so it's deliberate, like?
Not necessarily deliberate. I mean, they may have like honestly thought he was short because of that. Because of that confusion between the units. They may not have realised there was a confusion between the units. Like, the propagandists may not have realised. If they did, they probably would have ignored it so that they could portray him as short. And also, he had a thing, I've read this, of his Imperial Guard, like his own personal soldiers. He only took people who were over 6 foot, which was, like, really tall at the time.
Oh, right. So he seemed really short.
Yeah, so he seemed short because he deliberately surrounded himself with huge lads.
What? Why?
To make them really impressive, because he was the emperor.
All right, okay. But surely it makes him look very unimpressive. No?
But it doesn't matter, because he's the emperor. Because he controlled all of Europe.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah.
It's like, I might be a little bit shorter than these dudes, but I am also the emperor, so...
Yeah, anything you can say... anything you can say there, the rebuttal is just like, I'm the emperor. And then you just auto-win.
Much.
Did you know that about his height and what the mix-up was, or did you Google it? Because I know you like your Napoleon, don't you?
Yeah, no, I knew that already.
Oh, I think it's really interesting. I must quiz you more on your knowledge of that era, because I know hardly anything about that era.
I mean, I'll warn you that a lot of it does come from fiction.
Yeah, man, I don't mind.
And some of it is from reading like actual like real books, but a lot of it is from fiction.
Oh, I told the captain about that book with set in Napoleonic era, except with dragons.
Temeraire, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, this is good. I'm getting this."
She should. It's really good.
Yeah, I told her it was very, very good, and I bigged it up. Hopefully not too much, but but yeah. So that is point number 4, and a quick extra point. We need to correct slightly about what we said about the Mayan counting system.
Yeah.
You alluded to this in the previous podcast, but I just want to like state it for sure. The Mayan counting system is not base 60. It's base 20.
Okay.
Okay, now you were onto something, so I just want to state it. It's the Sumerians and the Babylonians that were like truly base 60.
Cool.
And this came from a Redditor, Cerberus0225, who left like a comment that pretty much tells you how to world build with maths in the Reddit. And in one comment, he kind of touches on everything you need to do if you're going to world build number systems. I'll link this comment in the show notes. I think it's really cool. And for one reason that I picked up on that I really liked is that he mentions the fact that base 1 acts as sort of precursor to any more complicated base, which I'd never really thought of. And he talks about how when you imagine how people first start counting, it's always in a sort of tally system. And then they begin to group their tallies, and they inadvertently they move from base 1 to more complicated bases. I thought that was great. I thought that was really, really brilliant.
Does that really count as base 1 though? Because, like, how many fingers do you have?
Like, do I currently have? Like now, are you asking me, or is that rhetorical?
Yeah, like okay, on your left hand, how many fingers are there?
I believe 5, last time I checked.
Okay, but explain that to me in a unary system.
11111.
Yeah, but that's not really... I don't know, that doesn't really feel like a number system at all to me in the same way, because you're going to have to... Okay, 11111. How many ones is that? That's 5 ones.
Yeah, no, it's not a number system. That's why it's a tally system. And it's kind of... It like, they wouldn't be thinking in a base like early cultures. They'll be thinking in just, let's note down all the times something shows up. And then in tallying it, they start to develop bases.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's like not an intuitive thing to think about, because you look at your hand and you go, oh, that's 5. And then you think, oh, everyone's always thought that's 5, or whatever they call 5. But it's... Fünf, or cinq in French. Cinq?
Один, два, три, четыре, пять, I think, or something in Russian.
In Russian, okay. Yeah, you have a Russian thing on Facebook. Your name is Russian on Facebook.
No, it isn't.
Is it? It's something that's not English.
Look it up there and see if you can figure out what language it is, or what script it is anyway.
Okay. You see, my immediate thoughts are Russian. But then when I look at some of those upside down Y's, I'm thinking not.
That's not an upside down Y, it's a lambda.
Oh, you Greek. Oh, there's pi in there, it's Greek.
It's Greek.
Yeah, I didn't see pi. I did not see pi. Why on earth is your name in Greek?
That's not my name.
Why on earth is there a Greek thing there?
Because I think it's really funny.
Oh, like as in what the words are?
Yes.
Oh, do you want to tell me? Because I can't read Greek.
No.
Oh, you're so
it's a little Easter egg for any of my Facebook friends.
Hang on, can we not just copy and... Oh, I can't just copy and paste it. So how do you type Greek into Google Translate?
If you select Greek as the language you're translating from, there might be like a manual kind of input for the Hellenic script. There is, yeah. Apologies,
listeners. This has to be done. God damn it, but this better be worth it.
It might not be.
Okay.
I just think it's funny.
Oh man, I have to keep flicking by the pages. Is that a capital pi, the thing that starts off?
Doesn't matter.
Why does it not matter?
It is, but it doesn't matter. It's just a pi, like the capital doesn't come into it.
Oh, I know, but I need to know like what that character is.
Oh, I get you, yeah.
Type it in. It's a lambda. IOP.
Just translate the first word.
Okay. K. Where in the name? Where is it? What? Where's a K? Oh, there's a K. There's a K. We're okay. Disaster averted. I'm sorry. This is so slow. Hold on. T-N sickle. Is that a sick? What is that? I'm getting. I don't know if I've inputted this right, but I'm getting besieger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tells me nothing. Like, what?
That's the name that... Poliorketos means besieger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like that's a person's name?
Well, it's like an honorific, I think.
Okay. And so is the second one Bill?
No.
What's the second one?
I'm not telling you.
God damn! All right, okay.
But it's kind of another honorific.
All right, I'm gonna have to do this. I'll cut all this, but I might.
Okay, will you cut this? I'll tell you off air.
Oh, why is it rude?
Not exactly. Well, a little. But
the first two letters of that second word come up as miss. I like it. Okay, I will. No, I won't. I want to keep some of this. Hold on. Let me go through this. Right, I need 2 lambdas. Just bear with me here, there, Bill. Oh, what's happening? Nurseries, it says.
No.
Well, not true. Man, every letter adds something beautiful. Look, I put in another letter and it became artistic. What happens when I put in the pie? Here we go. Ready? Catapus. U, and that becomes Calippo. Calipagos. What in the name of Christ?
Oh, maybe it doesn't actually.
And then sickle. It's sickle time, Bill. Peanut butter sickle time. Yeah, Calipagos.
Okay, so it doesn't actually translate into modern Greek. Okay, that's fine.
Now, what is a Calipagos?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, Bill. Oh, God, I hate you so much. Okay, alright, okay, anyhow, shall we move on? Tell me after the show, okay? God damn, okay. Do you have anything else to add and follow up there, Bill?
This is actually a nice segue.
Oh, is it?
From the Greek.
Oh, no,
yeah.
I was going to cut that and put it at the start of the show, and now we're going to have to leave the big awkward bit in the middle, and
No, you're not. No, you're not. Just do whatever. You can cut out the fact that it's a segue.
Bill, that's crazy talk.
So one of my mates who has been listening to us suggested that we talk about this. We might do this a bit more so in another episode. But he pointed out how Plato was a world builder.
Oh, I've never heard of this before.
Okay, Plato's Republic. Have you ever read that?
I haven't read it. I know vaguely what that is. Do you want to enlighten me?
So it's an account. It's by Socrates, and it's an account of a discussion that Socrates and Plato and a bunch of other Greek dudes had about how to make a perfect society. So it's like a spoken thought experiment where they construct an ideal, or in their by their values, an ideal society, which is effectively world building. Like they come up with what the rules would be and how everything would function, and
that's
like how
epic.
to make the society kind of fair, and like the mythologies they would use to teach people the lessons and things.
Oh wow, they go deep as well.
Yeah, very deep, very, very deep.
Have you read Plato's Republic?
I read probably about 2/3 of it, and I found it very, very interesting. But they kept talking about how this would be an ideal and just and fair society, and it was entirely founded on deceiving the citizens. And that just really annoyed me, and I was like, well, I'm not going to read. This is awful. This is morally abhorrent. And so I stopped.
Okay, alright, because my next question was going to be, how good was their society? Clearly not that good.
No, entirely based around deceiving people.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? How do you mean deceiving people? Like, we are deceived constantly in our society. Like NSA and all of that stuff that was going on in America. Like, that's based on, hiding things from citizens.
Yeah, but it's not kind of the same sort of outright lies. Basically, what they had was they would not allow people to have children automatically, or a thing that would have to be won. You'd have to either earn it or win it in a lottery. But the lotteries were all going to be rigged so that only the best soldiers would get the right to breed.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No, why would they think this? Because isn't this whole, like, population control, like, it's a modern thing? Why back then did they want population control? Oh, no, or they just want selective breeding?
Yeah, they just want to, so that only the best soldiers have children, so that they will be really
no
good
bueno.
soldiers.
No bueno.
Yeah.
I don't think that. Anything else that's abhorrent about their society?
It's 4 or 5 years since I read it, and that's the one thing that really stuck out to me.
Okay, all right. Oh, it's interesting. I did not know that.
The city was called Callipolis. Callipolis, rather. Callipolis.
Oh, is this to do with your Facebook name?
The first route there is the same, I think, yeah. Cali.
Okay, I do you want to explain what this word means? Or is it really filthy and we should leave it
No,
out?
no, it's not filthy. That's not filthy at all. It means beautiful, I think. So...
Oh, okay.
For example, another Greek name, Greek nom de plume that I like is Callicrates, or Callicrates, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, which means beautiful and strong, which was used by Rider Haggard in the She novels. The main character is a reincarnation of an ancient Greek called Callicrates. And in the events that sparked the Trojan War, the goddess of discord Eris threw a golden apple into Mount Olympus, and on it was written Callisti, which means for the most beautiful. And the three goddesses fought over who it was intended for, and they asked Paris to decide which the most beautiful was, and somehow I can't remember exactly how, but that started the Trojan War, because Paris gave the wrong answer and a war started.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
God, you're so knowledgeable. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's all useless stuff like that.
No, there's no such thing as useless knowledge. Not a chance. It's class. I really enjoy talking with you. I always learn something new. It's good.
Of course you do. I'm brilliant.
Oh, God. All right. Okay. So we might discuss that further at some stage. It sounds like that would
Trojan War.
No, not the Trojan War. Or unless you want to talk about the Trojan War, but Plato.
don't know anything about the Trojan War. Yeah, oh yeah, to come back to that as a topic, that might be interesting. I mean, I suppose I could reread Republic, and I'm sure other philosophers have done this as well. I think, I think Hobbes does something similar in Leviathan, which was about it's where he comes up with the idea that a society should act a certain way, and it's not just the kind of a total state of nature thing, social contract stuff like that. And I think he uses a bit of world building type speculation in that.
Cool, really cool.
To explain his ideas.
How easy is it to read Plato's Republic?
Quite easy.
Oh, it's not a big, dense, archaic language sort of thing.
Not that I recall. No, I don't remember it being that difficult.
And is it big? Is it? How big is it?
Not very. A few hundred pages, I think.
Okay, all right. Well, it might be a thing where maybe both of us could read it, and we might have a topic on that in the future.
Sure.
That sounds. Sure. I'd be really interested in reading that.
It's also quite funny because it is written just like a dialogue, so it's dudes out on the porch or whatever having a chat
with their shotgun and their swing.
Yeah, kind of. Except, it's Hellenic Greek, so it's more like with their slaves and olive oil. And there is a bit where they stop and someone addresses a guy over on the other side of the square. He's like, "Hey, you there, fellow oiling yourself," and they ask him a question.
This sounds great. I look forward to that. That'd be really cool. Really cool. So we received a lot of emails.
We did, loads. I think we might have doubled our email intake. Well, no, not quite, but we got lots.
Yeah, way more than last time. So I want to thank everyone for emailing. That's really cool. Keep it coming. Like any sort of things you want to mention, like future topics, stuff to do in world building Q&A, drop us an email and we'll try and mention it on a podcast.
Sure.
So there's two emails in particular I want to talk about before we move on to something else. Rose M wrote us an email, which was really interesting because she asks, would I ever write down, produce a written world building guide? And this is interesting because this is my sort of ambition to do. My big dream is to write a book, a world building book. And I just wanted to bring that up because it was kind of weird having someone else throw my kind of dream back at me. And I was like, oh, yes, this is a thing I've wanted to do since I was really young. So maybe at some stage I might try and self-publish a book.
Sure.
But that's going to be a Herculean task and I don't know if I'm going to be up to it. But it is something I'm hugely interested in. So that was one email. Another email came from Lupier, who has been on the show before, I believe. Oh, yes, he's our black metal guy. Or just metal. Maybe if I say black metal, that'd be bad. Metal.
Why?
I don't know. Allegiances, genre allegiances, I don't know. Our music lover, our resident music lover.
That's me.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Our music neighbour. I don't know, this is terrible. It's an awful transition, Jesus Christ. So we received an email from Loop here, and there's one thing in it I want to address. He asks about the number of planets per star.
Okay.
And is there any formula or any law that says how many planets a star should have? Right. So I can answer this really quickly. The answer is, I believe, no. I have never come across anything. But a general rule of thumb, contrary to what most people think, is that the smaller the star, if it has a low mass, it can have more planets.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because stars account for a huge portion of a system in terms of mass. So the smaller the star is, the more stuff there is left over to produce planets. So with supermassive stars, there's even more stuff swallowed up in them, so you're expecting less planets. So Loop here, there's no kind of formula, there's no golden rule or anything, just high-low mass sort of thing is the only thing to watch out for.
Yeah. Obviously, if everything is in the star to make the star really big, there isn't stuff left over to make the planets. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive at first, because you'd think a larger star would have more gravity to attract more stuff, but when you consider how they're made, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. The star will just eat up all the stuff in the protoplanetary disk if it's a huge, huge star. So yeah. So I thought that was a really cool question. And as I like the space, so it's good to answer these questions. Now, we received several emails about topics we may cover in the future. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to mention those because they've been archived and they're in my Artifexian podcast topic folder.
Brilliant.
So if we don't mention you, we've read it and you've been archived, and we might talk about it at a future date. So keep the emails coming, guys, and they really help make the show very, very good. You know. So do you wanna go into flag corner?
Sure. Why not? I'm excited to see what you have waiting for me here.
Okay, so we mentioned last time that we're going to talk more about flags and have a little flag corner. I decided to call it flag corner because, let's face it, the best thing to do here is just point out the atrocities that exist out there in the world and mock and ridicule them briefly before we go on to the main topic. Okay, so the flag for today is the infamous flag of Brown County, Nebraska.
I'm Googling it.
You're Googling it. I'll put this in the show notes for everyone, but when you find it, Bill, if you could try and describe it to the listener, that would be awesome.
Oh, this one.
This one. Okay, so for flag enthusiasts will know this flag because it's usually seen as like the Antichrist of all flags. But I don't think normal people, in quotes, would know this. So do you want to describe it there, Bill?
Okay, it is a white rectangle.
It is.
With, in vertical sort of bold-faced letters in green, Brown County, written on the left-hand side. And I say it's vertical, so it's B-R-O-W-N, you're reading like up, down, from
up
top
and down.
to bottom.
Not horizontal, vertically aligned text.
Vertically aligned text. Is that like a thing of corn or something beside it?
Yeah, that's...
a little black silhouette of corn? Or
little bushel
of cowboy?
Little bushel of corn, yeah.
Little bushel of corn. Then there's a sort of grey field in the middle with what I assume is like the shape of the county.
Yes.
One black line going across it, curved black line, which I guess is the road, and 3 place names on it, one of which again is vertically aligned in green text.
And also, do you recognise the typeface?
The Comic Sans?
I believe it's Comic Sans, yeah.
And then, so 3 place names written here. I assume they're place names: Johnstown, Ainsworth, and Long Pine. One of them is vertically aligned, Johnsworth. The other 2 aren't. In the bottom right of this brown area, there are 3 cows in silhouette.
Yep.
Now moving on into the final, like maybe quarter, and the rightmost. We're again in a sort of a field of white, at the top of which there's a sort of blurry silhouette of some pine trees.
Yep.
At the bottom, there's one of those antique windmills.
There is, and then...
Again, in silhouette. And then, in green, vertical text, 1883, the numerals, which I guess is the founding.
And, like, the thing that gets me as well, like, everything is wrong with this flag. There's nothing right about this flag. But, like, just...
3 separate typefaces.
3 separate typefaces!
Was that what you were going to say?
Yeah!
Aye!
It's just awful. And then one of them is Comic Sans as well. It's like, oh, Lord. And, like, if you look at the Brown County, like the letters...
Yeah.
The O in Brown is, like, different to the O in County.
It is.
But they're the same typeface, and I don't understand how they did that.
They just put that single letter in a different typeface.
How this passed any sort of committee? Like, I do not know. You're right there, man?
I'm clapping.
Are you giving it a round of applause?
One man round of applause.
So people on Reddit have found this flag of Brown County and have began Brown countifying various other flags from around the world.
Oh, how did I miss this?
This is glorious. So there's one, if you Google, I imagine if you Google Brown County, North Korea. Alright, so this is like, I'll put this in the show notes, but this is like Brown County, is in that the vertical text on the left is Korea and then DPRK. Mm-hmm. So the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and then you have Korea in the same horrible brown with Comic Sans letters outlining the various cities, and then like stereotypical blurry low pixel images of stuff that we associate with Korea around it, and then 1936 on the right hand side, and it's glorious, absolutely glorious.
There's one thing I really like. It nice little bit of attention to detail here.
Oh, is there? Oh, what is it?
What are the cities named on the flag?
Hamhung, Pyongyang, Seoul, and Busan?
Busan, yeah.
Busan, yeah. Well, what's the attention to detail here?
Seoul and Busan are in South Korea. But of course, that's not recognised by North Korea. They claim the entire peninsula.
Oh, okay, alright, okay, that's less funny. I thought someone just went, whatever, just all of that is North Korea, it's fine. Like,
No, I think that's even better. I think it's even better because it's like acknowledging the claim, the territorial, it's acknowledging the existence of that dispute. Because it would be low rent to just take a map of North Korea's actual, like, controlled territory. This is a much cleverer interpretation.
It is glorious, although I think you're reading into it a bit too much.
I don't think so at all. Like, because Seoul isn't in North Korea.
I did look at that and go, wait a minute. That's definitely not in North Korea. And I was like, maybe there's another one. And then I looked at it for a bit and went, that's not how North Korea is shaped. And I was very confused. I thought, I'll just leave it before I make a fool of myself. So thank you for bringing that up. And now I know what's going on.
There we go.
So people have like brown counterfied Spain as well, and like it's equally as horrible. Big Kingdom of Spain down the left hand side, 1492 on the right hand side.
I'm seeing one for Finland here.
There's some brown
bears on it.
Hold on,
rather lovely.
1 second now. I haven't seen this. Brown County.
One for CGP Grey.
I've seen that one for CGP Grey. I think that's brilliant. And the attention to detail, again, is really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for Brown County, Finland, I'm getting lots of very odd pictures. Very odd. What is this guy? Oh, okay, I'm alright. What did you Google to get that?
It just came up as one of the other suggestions beside Korea. Like, the picture itself was there, and I recognised it as Finland.
I can't find it.
A guy in a kilt barbecuing.
A guy in a... What?
Oh no, he's not barbecuing, he's forging something. I googled Brown County, Finland, and one of the pictures is a guy, a shirtless dude in a kilt, and tartan slippers, working a forge.
Is your Google different than mine?
Probably.
Well, there you go. That answers that, I suppose. Oh, I see him. Ah, what a boss. Look at him go. That's fantastic. Oh boy, Bill, there's going to be a lot of outtakes from this episode. So anyhow, in the spirit of what the internet has done by brown countifying various flags, I decided to brown countify our flag.
Oh, amazing.
So that is the thing I sent you in Facebook chat. Do you want to open it up?
Yes, please. Jesus God.
So, do you want to explain to the listeners, and maybe explain some of the in-jokes to them?
Okay, so we've got a brown outline of Ireland.
We do.
Of the island of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And down in green, bold text on the side, it says Republic of Ireland, vertically aligned. Then there's a picture of a leprechaun from The Simpsons floating above Sligo somewhere.
So the northwest of the country.
Of the country. Then south of that, between Galway and Clare, which is kind of just off the middle of the west coast, there is a rain cloud symbol.
Because it's constantly raining in Ireland.
In the west, certainly.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Actually, as we speak...
Not in the sunny southeast, where it has just stopped raining, actually.
As we speak now, I'm looking out my window, and it is like torrential downpour. It is really bad. Okay, so rain, and then what else we got?
Okay, so we've got Galway, Dublin, and Cork picked out in Comic Sans, green text with white border. Galway is vertically aligned.
And I just to point out some of my design decisions, I deliberately chose to have the text of Galway not all fit on the browned area, so the stroking of the letters looks really odd.
What's the stroking?
As in the white bit around it. So the white bit is hidden when it's on the white background.
Oh, yeah.
So the G looks different from the all-way part.
Yeah. Now, off the right coast, up around, up in kind of the northeast, we've got, near Belfast, we've got a packet of Tato.
Do you want to explain this to the American listeners?
It's Ireland's kind of national potato crisp. Potato chips, as you call them.
And
in America.
It's become such a cultural thing that we don't, very, very, very often, we don't refer to crisps as crisps. They're Tatos.
Yeah, so any brand of crisped potato snack is a Tato.
It's Tato, because this brand is so like embedded in our culture.
Then down kind of between Louth and Wexford, we've got a large pint of Guinness off the kind of middle of the east coast.
For obvious reasons. And
then down around the point of Rosslare, which the bottom, the southeast corner of the country, we've got what I assume is a potato.
It is a potato, and it's hard to tell because of the blur that I had to follow when doing brown.
It could just be a rock.
It could.
And then in green text down the right-hand side, we've got 1937. What's the significance of 37?
This was tricky. I actually had to do some research while making this last night. It's when Ireland first became Ireland, I believe.
In what sense?
In the sense that 1937 was the year in which we had our second constitution, and I believe that's where the term Ireland was first used, because before that it was the Free State in the 22 constitution, I think.
Yeah, but is the Republic of Ireland not the 48 or 40 something?
Oh, is it?
The Republic of Ireland Act was 48, so.
Oh,
no, maybe there's something in between. That's when I thought that the Free State ended. There might be something in between.
You see, when I was looking this up, to be honest, I don't really know that much about Irish history. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but not really. There's so many points you could take as a year that could go on a Brown County Irish flag. Like, you could easily take 1922, and that's huge significance. You could take 1916, and it also has significance.
No, you couldn't.
Well, you could.
No, you couldn't.
Well, you could.
How could you?
It has nothing to do with the formation of Ireland, but it's an emotive date in the history of us becoming a nation.
But we didn't become a nation.
No, we didn't become. Yeah, but
really
it's like
badly.
Yeah, but you know the way, like, next year in 2016, we're going to be celebrating that.
Yeah,
like, it's a cultural thing, so it could be there as a cultural date.
I don't know.
Like, no, I get that it's not the best date to put there, but you could put it there if you're going to make a terrible flag. Do you want to explain, actually, sorry, again to the US listeners, do you want to explain 1916 briefly so they know what we're on about?
So there was an uprising in Dublin on Easter Monday 1916 when the Irish Republican Brotherhood took over the General Post Office, which is in the centre of Dublin, a large building in the centre of Dublin, and it's still there.
Very nice building.
Lovely building, and still has bullet holes from the 1916 Rising.
Which is something we are going to talk about in the green room.
Cool. And as well as Boland's Mills and a couple of other buildings. I can't remember where else. Boland's Mills is the only other main one I remember. And it failed horrifically and was actually really unpopular with the Irish people at the time until the leaders of the Rising were executed. And that generated a lot of sympathy in Ireland. The ones that were captured were executed, and the manner in which they executed really disgusted a lot of the Irish people and made a lot of support for the Republican movement.
The manner in which they were executed? Like, how were they executed?
Well, they were all shot, but one of them was very, very sick and wasn't able to stand before the firing squad, so he was tied to a chair and shot. That's
obviously appalling, right? But just a little comment here. When people go like, you know, the manner in which someone is executed is appalling. It's like, yeah, but execution is appalling.
Yeah, I don't really get the emotive thing there either, personally. I mean,
yeah, it makes no sense.
They shot him. Like, it doesn't really matter that he was sitting down when they shot him.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, like, exactly. They were going to wait for him to get healthy before they shot him.
Like, the end product is just this death in any case. Like,
yeah,
you know. So,
and to finish describing this flag, anyway, then in Ireland itself, in the island itself, sort of watermarked into the brown, there is a picture of our former rugby international player Brian O'Driscoll, affectionately known as Bod Almighty. He's a bit of a hero among Irish sports fans. And in front of Bod, there is a cup of tea. Yeah, I mean that's an impressive. That's a really well brownified flag of Ireland.
I didn't do the thing with the North Korea thing. I didn't acknowledge the fact that the Republic of Ireland is not the entirety of Ireland.
Yeah.
And also, according to CGP Grey, the Ireland is not called the Republic of Ireland.
Well, like the name of the country isn't Republic of Ireland. The
Yeah,
name is just Ireland.
It's
But
Ireland, yeah.
I mean, it's called it kind of like casually because to distinguish it.
Which, I wonder, which is more in the spirit of Brown County? Writing Republic of Ireland or Ireland? Which is more kind of wrong?
Well, no, I think it's Brown County, which is like the division. So I think Republic of Ireland kind of makes sense as well because it is the Republic. If you know, it's like acknowledging the administrative level of that geographic designation.
That's the most intellectual like response to a question about how to sully the Irish flag by making it Brown County. Oh, Bill, you're gas.
Yep.
All right. So every month we will hopefully come back with a terrible flag and discuss about it and do stuff. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to Photoshop every month, but you never know. Right. So that's the end of Flag Corner. Shall we move on to our main topic?
Let's move on to our main topic.
Okay. So for today's main topic, we talk about Dyson Spheres.
Excellent.
Which is a topic suggested by Liquorice via email. So I suppose the first place to start would be defining what a Dyson Sphere is. Do you want to give it a pop?
Okay, so a Dyson Sphere is a structure built entirely around a star.
Yes.
So a sphere, as implied by the name, built around a star in order to collect the total energy output of the star.
Right, exactly.
The original was, I mean, it's named after Freeman Dyson.
Freeman Dyson, yeah.
Seem to remember and or assume. And his idea was to build it at kind of one astronomical unit, so the current distance of the Earth from the Sun, to keep kind of the energy absorbed about the same.
Yeah.
As we're currently used to. And then populate the inside of it.
Yes, it was proposed by Freeman Dyson in a somewhat speculative paper. I believe in the 30s. I could be wrong about that.
He was born in 1923, so
not in the 30s then.
Probably not in the 30s.
But it was somewhere near the middle of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, bit of trivia here, is that he hates his association with the Dyson Sphere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't like it at all. Because I suppose if you're a serious scientist, you don't really want to be remembered for something that's like speculative.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a little bit of trivia there. Any guesses, Bill, as to why one would build a Dyson Sphere?
To take the entire energy output of the star.
Yeah, okay, so obviously the construction of a Dyson Sphere, there's a couple of kind of prerequisites that need to come.
Yeah.
One is that, remember we talked about the Kardashev scale?
Yeah.
One is that you have to be 2 on the Kardashev scale.
Or building it would be achieving 2 on the Kardashev scale, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not really feasible for like our civilization, our society at our current tech level to do so.
No.
And the reasons for doing it would be a couple of things. Like if we assume population growth grows exponentially the way it is doing now, eventually it's going to make sense that you're going to have to build some sort of superstructure to be able to power a civilization of like, you know, trillions of people and give them living space. Mm-hmm. That's one kind of prerequisite. Another prerequisite would be that the star is the best source of energy power, which is not entirely, you know, true, you know?
But, you know, if you've got a massive pre-made functioning fusion generator hanging there, why not use it?
Well, exactly. But what if, say, an advanced society comes up with a way of generating energy locally that is cheaper to do? Because, I mean, there's a huge cost in building a Dyson Sphere to gather energy from a star.
Yeah.
So that's an assumption there that has to be made. Like, Dyson Spheres will happen if a civilization can't come up with an energy source that's more attainable. Mm-hmm. And then also another assumption, and this is very speculative, is that there's no FTL technology. Because if there's FTL technology, you can just start populating people around other stars, and you don't need to come up with a way of...
Only if you're specifically talking from the overpopulation point of view. You might still want to gather all of that right. Energy.
Exactly, yeah. It's a slightly more nuanced, but there are certain considerations. Like people just don't go... It's just like civilizations don't just go, Dyson Sphere, You know, there's a kind of build up to it. Now, the interesting thing I found out while researching this, and I want to state, speculative engineering is not my forte. I just want to make that clear from the start. I'll do my best to try and explain what I know about Dyson Spheres and what I've uncovered, but my sort of nuts and bolts lies in sort of the physical creation of worlds in my world building, you know? So what I've uncovered is that the Dyson Sphere, like you mentioned, and the way everyone thinks about a Dyson Sphere as being a solid shell encasing a star is not viable.
Okay.
All right, and everyone assumes that this is what Dyson meant, a solid shell of material encasing the star to gather energy and provide living space. But he was actually referring to something more akin to like a swarm around a star, a swarm of like individual satellites, not a solid shell.
Okay, but then either like tons and tons of them or very large ones or both.
Or both, yeah, exactly, yeah. You basically just try and swarm the entire star and encase it, but the key here is that it's not solid. It's not one solid continuous structure. The reason for this is that, well, first of all, in our solar system, it's borderline impossible to build that sort of structure at 1 AU distance from the star.
There's just not enough material.
There's just not enough material. It's been estimated that, and I have the figures here, that there is 1.82 times 10 to 26 kilograms of suitable building material in the solar system.
Right.
Right? And that's including, like, the core of giant planets. So really hard to access stuff. If you were to take all of that stuff and somehow mine it and use it, you'd come up with a Dyson Sphere, a solid Dyson Sphere, about 8 to 20 centimeters thick, which is not going to work. So it requires, a solid Dyson Sphere requires a ton of material, and most systems probably won't have it. That's the first problem. Second problem is that if you do build something that's solid, it's likely to implode due to like compressive forces. So it's not going to stay as a solid hollow sphere. It's just going to, break apart.
What do you mean? What are compressive forces now? What's compressing it?
Itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's just too much matter, and it's just all going to just like clump together and just break apart. Also, it's liable to drift. So if it gets nudged by, like, say, a meteor or a comet, or there's some sort of gravitational tug, it's likely to start drifting, and then eventually, if it starts drifting, it's going to drift into the star and then blow up.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly stabilize it as well. So overall, it's a really bad idea. And
you do, I mean, some of those problems are mitigated by the fact that you do have constant access to a vast amount of power.
Oh yeah. Like the upshot of it is a huge upshot.
Yeah.
But it's very, very difficult to achieve a solid sphere is the point I'm making. And another problem is the habitability issue. I think a lot of people, when they think Dyson spheres, they think that they function like a hollow Earth sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where you can just have land masses on everywhere on the interior of a sphere, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be reduced to what's known as a Niven ring. After Larry Niven, I believe, the author.
Of Ringworld, yeah.
Of Ringworld, exactly. So if the sphere is spinning, right, because you have to generate some sort of gravity. Otherwise, all you're going to do is drift into the sun. So if the sphere is spinning, the only place that's habitable that will produce enough gravity for humans to stick to the surface will be at around the equator of the sphere. And so you're only going to have a really thin band of habitability on a Dyson sphere, and everything else is just solar collection. So it's great in terms of like getting energy from the star, but not good at providing living space.
Well, I mean, it's still pretty good at providing living space.
Yeah, no, of course. Like it's probably going to house it might house like trillions of people, but like in terms of overall percentage of surface area, it's like shockingly low.
Yeah.
So this is the problem with the Dyson sphere as people generally know it. It's not a great structure, and people speculate that if we are to find like level 2 civilizations that have built such structures, they will never be solid spheres. They're going to be what's known as Dyson swarms or Dyson bubbles.
Oh, and what's a bubble then?
So a bubble is, if we imagine our Dyson sphere, okay?
Yeah.
And instead of being solid, it's made up of a swarm of satellites. Mm-hmm. And these satellites will be like solar collectors and like space habitats, okay?
Right.
And they're going to be, actually satellite's the wrong word, it's not satellite, it's a statite. So this is a satellite that is not in orbit, but is held stationary in space.
Okay.
All right. And so you basically encase a star in like a bubble of these statites. And that's what a Dyson bubble is. So it's like a Dyson sphere, except not one contiguous surface.
Okay.
All right. And that works better, and you lose all of the problems of like the impossibility to build. I mean, it doesn't take half as much matter because it's not contiguous. It's not going to implode under compressive forces. It's not going to drift into the star. The habitability can be anywhere because you're building space habitats. So a bubble is much more likely. And in fact, this is what Freeman Dyson was actually referring to in his paper.
Right.
He never referred to a solid shell, a Dyson shell. So I don't know where that's come out of, but it seems to have been embedded in the sort of sci-fi zeitgeist of the time that it was solid, and it's not.
And what's holding the statites in place?
Yeah, so if you imagine like you have like a space habitat,
yeah,
and then on either side you have like giant light sails.
Okay, yeah. And so it's like not like being statically held in place; it's being kind of dynamically held in place.
Yeah. So what happens is you balance the tug of gravity inwards with the radiation pressure outwards.
Okay.
So you're in this sort of like gravitational like dance, and the idea is that you are held stable. Because if you have like a swarm of satellites that are orbiting, then it gets really messy, because then like various satellites could perturb other satellites, and there's like collisions, and it's very, very, very like unstable. So you really need to have this idea of this bubble, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And pros to this bubble, and I really want to sell this idea of people no longer thinking about Dyson spheres as being solid. Pros to this bubble is that you have incremental construction, which is maybe not immediately apparent, but it's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
So like even if you put up one solar collector, you're still collecting power.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can use that to power the next solar collector, and so on and so forth. And so society gets like incremental benefits from it. They don't have to wait for the entirety of the structure to be finished.
Okay.
So it's overall better. There are flaws with it. And one of the flaws is that it's estimated that the material that we'd have to build these light sails and these statites out of would have to be very, very like low density.
Yeah.
And it's something akin to like a speculative type of like carbon nanotubing. So
right.
we've as a civilization, we've yet to be able to manufacture a material of a density that is suitable to build a Dyson sphere, and I don't think we're anywhere close, you know?
Hold on, just to pick up on your previous point.
Yeah, of course.
You don't need a Dyson sphere like the kind of classical understanding of one, sci-fi understanding of one, where it's solid, to be completely finished to access its benefits. Like, as long as you have the Dyson ring.
Yeah, but you need the entirety of the ring.
Do you?
Well, yeah, because you're going to have to spin the thing to produce centrifugal force. Because it's not a satellite.
You need to have something spinning, but you don't need to have it entirely finished. And no, you mean you could like live like in like structures on the surface of it, like before it's spinning. You wouldn't necessarily need the gravity.
But you need the gravity to pin things down.
Not if you're inside a thing. Not if you're inside a box.
Okay, yeah. But then what you've done is you've created like a space habitat. You haven't created you haven't like terraformed the inside of the shell, which I think is what most people think of.
Yeah, but you still get to access some of the benefits. Is the point I'm making.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but nowhere near as much as with the bubble, I think, because it's a lot cheaper to build like a single satellite and use that as opposed to like building bits of a ring.
Yeah,
you know, I take your point completely. The bubble is better, I think, in my estimation. You know. Mm-hmm. Are there any works of fiction? Because I know Dyson shells. Actually, just to get our terminology right, the classical Dyson sphere we're going to call a Dyson shell.
Okay, that's the solid.
That's the solid one, and then the one comprised of these statites we're called the bubble.
Okay.
Are there any works of fiction that use a bubble? Because I know, like, there's been Star Trek episodes that use the shell.
That use a bubble? That is a good question.
Yeah, I can't think of one immediately. And this is, I think, is the problem, because everyone goes, Dyson Spheres, always solid, and that's not right. I wonder.
Nothing comes to mind.
I wonder if anyone in the Reddit can think of anything. I'd be interested in finding out, because I couldn't uncover anything. I couldn't uncover anything at all.
I'll have a quick Google, but...
Bill and his Google foo.
I just type fast. Typing fast and multitasking.
Something I cannot do. The kids are always amazed at how fast I type, and I like hunt and peck.
Really?
Yeah, I can't speed type.
Huh.
Yeah, like the idea of putting my fingers on the home keys and looking at the screen, like I don't understand how people.
No, I don't put them on the home keys.
Do you look at the screen?
I look at the screen, yeah.
Oh yeah, see, I can't do it. I have to look at my fingers.
I put my fingers on. Well, it kind of varies. Maybe they are sometimes. Sometimes they're on where I game. So like ASD.
Yeah.
For gaming, and sometimes they're on middle finger on T, index finger on H, ring finger on E. Because like there is a word you type loads, and it's kind of one that naturally came up when I used to write a lot when I was a teenager.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. No, I do 2 index fingers and poke at it from a distance.
Let's see. I'm not finding anything. Nope, I'm not finding anything on TV tropes, and the Wikipedia on Dyson Sphere doesn't seem to have much about the distinction being used in fiction.
Yeah, it's a shame. I don't know. There's got to be something. There's got to be something, because like if there's anything sci-fi writers are good at is kind of getting their hard science right.
Hold on.
Oh, we have something.
The novel Accelerando by Charles Stross. I might have that here somewhere.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I think my brother might own that. It might be somewhere in the room. A Dyson swarm, possibly a Dyson bubble of computronium, forms a massive Matryoshka brain around the sun.
Oh, we're gonna top out that brain.
We're gonna move on to this stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Providing a virtual space for trillions of uploaded human minds and corporate AI.
Actually, while we're at it, let's just talk about what I call the Matryoshka brain. I could be totally wrong. I have no idea. I've only ever seen it written. So we can use Dyson bubbles or Dyson shells to collect energy, like we just stated, and to provide living space. But also, depending on how you use the energy, the sort of type of Dyson sphere changes. If you use the energy you collect to run computers, you run a thing called a Matryoshka brain. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned there, the kind of common use for it is that societies build Matryoshka brains so they can upload their minds into virtual reality.
Yeah.
Which is I believe, one of the possible solutions to the Fermi paradox. Like, we don't see all the aliens because they're all sitting inside a Dyson sphere and they never travel out of it because they're uploaded into virtual reality. Which I think is really cool, and a very sci-fi solution to the Fermi paradox.
For sure.
If you could, Bill, would you upload your brain into virtual reality and forget the real world?
I'd consent to having a copy taken.
Like a backup.
Or, not necessarily a backup, but like take a version of me that then goes and does its own thing as well. That'd be kind of cool.
Would you be able to interact with that version of you? Like, will you know what your virtual self is experiencing? Or are you just giving birth?
No, like separated.
Alright, where's the payoff for you then?
I mean, there's not any in particular, but it would be kind of cool.
I suppose it's a nice idea.
I mean, from like a kind of an information theory point of view or whatever, you're not losing anything, but I'd still find it kind of weird.
Yeah,
like to like be completely digitized, be completely like virtually realized, and stop the functioning of my current brain. I mean, like I can't think of any like specific objection to it, but I do find it a bit kind of upsetting.
Yeah, I think it's more sad, really, because there is, like, as far as we know, but one universe, you know, and kind of avoiding nature is a bit weird, you know. To live in some like technical virtual paradise, I don't know. It seems really strange.
It doesn't have to be a paradise.
Well, I assume that a civilization would design this virtual reality to be a paradise. So people will willingly want to upload stuff. I get the dystopian sort of Matrix sort of thing. I get that.
Yeah.
But if it's like a consenting upload.
Yeah. I mean, I think we automatically assume that a paradise is going to be either kind of boring or kind of like all fun all the time or whatever. I'm sure there is a way to make something kind of that has a convincing level of strife and difficulty in it to still be enjoyable.
Yeah, actually.
And we'll cause you to work for things, and we'll give you setbacks, but we'll also give you rewards, and like that's a. I mean, it's in a sense, it's an engineering problem, you know.
That's a better sell, actually. I think I would upload if it wasn't just going to be all fine and dandy. If there was a challenge to it, you know, like when you play games, if the game has no challenge to it, there's no point playing. You know.
Yeah.
So I think so, or maybe even if we were part of a civilization where we just understood everything, you know, we unified all the forces. We understood how nature works. We've studied everything. We've been around for billions and billions of years as a civilization. Then maybe virtual reality is the next step because there's just nothing to do anymore. You know? Before quantum physics started up, they had that thing where they're like, science is over. So it could actually get to a point where science might be over, like in billions of years. Like just everyone knows everything, and then virtual reality. And then you build a Matryoshka brain and you can achieve that.
But you've still got humanities. You might be finished with the sciences, but then you still have to like exhaust all the humanities and arts.
Yeah, but they're not real topics, though. I joke.
You've got a degree in guitar.
I do. Oh, I'm a big liberal arts head. But anyway, so if you were to upload, you probably need to run a Matryoshka brain, because I mean, like the computational power used to like download a brain is just huge. And I think the only way of doing that is to, you know, be able to get power from a star, like on that level, to be able to run it.
I don't know.
No?
Not necessarily. I mean, we don't know how powerful computers would be by the time we'd be able to upload. So maybe it wouldn't actually take all that energy.
Yeah, but as well, there's an issue of multiplicity there as well. I mean, like, there's a lot of people that potentially would want to upload.
Oh yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I just think it's a big claim to make.
Am I making a generalised statement, Bill?
No?
Oh, God. So that's the Matryoshka brain. There's a couple of other cool things you can do with Dyson Spheres. Or bubbles.
Sorry, does a Matryoshka brain have to be a Dyson sphere?
Yes, it needs to.
By definition, it is. Okay.
Oh, hang on now. Again, the terminology. Are you referring to the solid shell?
No. I mean that it has to be a Dyson bubble or something. By definition, okay.
By definition is yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a variation on a Dyson sphere bubble thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another variation is, I believe it's called the Shakatov thruster.
Okay.
Again, I've only ever read these names. I've never said them out loud. And this is kind of cool. I like this idea. If we imagine a star, right? Mm-hmm. And we've encased it in satellites. If we have the satellites being uniformly spread around the sphere, around the star, okay?
Okay.
There's like the net like radiation output of the swarm is like null, right? There's no like additional output in any one area because it's all evenly spread.
Okay.
Right? Now, what you can do, which I only learned yesterday and I think is really cool, if you make your bubble asymmetrical, so like say maybe, I don't know, like the northern hemisphere of your star, the bit covering that, gathers more radiation than the southern bit, you produce radiation output that's not uniform.
Yeah.
And that manifests itself in thrust, as in movement. So what you can do is you literally build a gigantic engine. You build a thrust device, and you can use this to move stars and solar systems through space, which is just mind blowing. Like, it's great.
Super.
It's really, really cool. And the Wikipedia has some cool stats on this. They're saying that if we built a Dyson bubble around our star and we built it in a certain configuration, I'll leave links in the show notes to the Wikipedia page on this. They're saying that after 1,000,000 years of this bubble being set up in this asymmetrical fashion, you'll have moved about 0.03 light years.
Wow.
And you'll have achieved a speed of about 20 meters per second.
That's pretty fast, in fairness.
It is pretty fast. No, it is. Well, on a terrestrial level, it's very, very fast. But like on a cosmic level, like you're going nowhere quick. And then after 1 billion years, it's an order of magnitude more. It's 20 kilometers per second. And then you'll have moved a third of the Milky Way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, remember back when we built Hand Wavy and Dagger?
Yeah.
Do you remember I built very low mass stars?
Yeah.
I always have a fondness of low mass stars because there's so much you can do with them because of the fact that they live for, like, in some cases, trillions of years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a cool thing around low mass stars. Like, if we look at the universe in, a couple of billion years and maybe a few aliens have sprung up or whatever, we might expect to find low mass stars moving about the place because people will have, civilizations will have developed on planets around low mass stars. And because they live so long, they'll have lots of time to, evolve and move up the Kardashev scale and build these sort of thrusters.
Or you could just have civilizations from any star discover low mass stars, because like once you're out and traveling the universe, maybe you're assuming the only travel is on low mass stars, stellar engines. Because
remember, we're one of the kind of the tenuous assumptions of Dyson Spheres was that FTL travel is not possible.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. But so I think that's really cool. In the very distant future, there'll be like little M-class stars just like really slowly moving across the galaxy to like maybe to get into like a better place. Like, I don't know, like if they were just about to pass through a spiral arm of the galaxy, a civilization could be like, whoa, geez, in 1 billion years, we're going to be in trouble. Let's move our star. I think that's class.
I seem to recall something in Ringworld about moving star systems.
Oh, the Rosette. Is it the Rosette?
Yeah.
The Kepler. I always call the Kepler Rosette. It's Kepler Rosette or something like that.
Maybe. The puppeteers, who are one of the races, they have it's like 5 stars. It's I think they've got 5 stars, and their system is built around that, and it moves kind of together. But it's a lot faster than what you're describing, I think.
The stars were moved into that arrangement, yes?
Yeah. A gravitational system of heavier and lighter bodies orbiting in a regular repeating pattern around a common barycenter. So, like 3 large and 3 small bodies orbiting around a center. There's nothing in the center. Forming kind of a hexagon shape, isn't it? Forming a hexagon in this, yeah.
That Rosette is a very I was nearly made a video on this. It's a very interesting structure. The only problem is it's like theoretically viable, but it's not going to hold up in real life. Like even if we could move the stars into those positions, like the tiniest, the most like infinitesimal gravitational tug will just send the whole thing cascading into chaos.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a finely balanced thing that really the only way of getting that is to have some way of like correcting orbits of stars, like mechanically. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. But it makes for a really cool system.
Definitely.
So yeah, you have the thruster, which is really cool. And there's various different variations on the thruster and how it works, which I think is class. And just this whole idea of moving stars, it's amazing to think that like, people of flesh and blood may one day be able to do that, Like we see the universe as being this rigid, constant, unchanging thing for the most part, and we are able to manipulate it like that. I think that's class. I have a final type of Dyson sphere I want to talk about.
Oh yeah,
kind of. It's not. I suppose not really Dyson sphere per se, but it's a megastructure that I think I want to know. I want to talk about, and that is the Topopolis. Or Topopolis. Okay. Again, only ever read these before. Never said them out loud. So this is like an O'Neill cylinder. Now, do you know what an O'Neill cylinder is?
I certainly do.
All right. Do you want to explain? Give a brief description.
So an O'Neill cylinder is a space habitat. Not anything on these kind of scales. It'd be like, say, a few miles long, which rotates to provide internal pseudogravity. And would be, like, say, placed at a Lagrange point or something. So, and then you would seal it up, it would rotate, you could put put an atmosphere on the inside and then inhabit the inside.
Yeah, it's a space habitat. It's one of the things that people propose putting as part of a Dyson bubble.
Right.
Like, it would be one of the habitats in the swarm around the star. Interesting point on O'Neill cylinders, though, is that they rotate in both directions.
What?
So you have a cylinder, right? Mm-hmm. All right, and say that's rotating clockwise.
Yeah.
What you'll have to do is you'll have to wrap another cylinder around it and rotate it anti-clockwise.
Why's that?
You rotate the inner cylinder to get artificial gravity, yeah? Mm-hmm. But that's going to produce a gyroscopic effect. And your space habitat is going to start moving out of where it should be. So you put another cylinder around the outside of it and rotate it the other way to cancel out the gyroscopic effect so it stays put.
Huh.
Which I think is really cool. I think it's very interesting. But anyhow, so we have basically a cylinder that's lined with like livable areas on the inside of it.
Yes.
If we take that and we stretch it out, okay, into like an incredibly long tube and wrap it around a star, you have what's known as a topopolis.
But then that can't rotate. That have to rotate in individual chunks.
It's going to have to do something funky with the rotation, but yeah, it's kind of an extreme extension of the ideas of an O'Neill cylinder.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring this up, Bill, is because it's a loop, right? You can knot it, okay? So you can really easily arrange it in a configuration that is like, I don't know, a trefoil knot. And we all know how much Edgar loves the knots. So
yeah,
when I read that,
cool.
I was like, brilliant.
That's very cool. One thing that does occur to me, I'm going to mention this because it's a book that some of the listeners might find quite interesting.
Go for it.
It's a book called Great Mambo Chicken and the Transhuman Condition.
Class.
And it touches on a lot of different topics. It's been a while since I read it, but it kind of goes into transhumanism and a lot of history of sort of space exploration and kind of rocket development. There's a bit about Evel Knievel in it.
Oh, cool. Always good.
They mention like very, very large scale engineering things like, Dyson spheres and that. One point that is made is the ethical implications of a Dyson sphere.
Oh, what's the ethical implications?
So you're taking... The aim is to get, 100% or as much as possible of the energy output of a star, right? What if your star is, the North Star for some distant civilization?
I had not thought of that.
You're denying them that thing that they need to navigate by.
That's actually very interesting. I thought you were going to go down the lines of, is it ethical to tear apart a solar system to build one of these?
It's not like we're using it.
It's not like we're using the solar system. But when people talk about the terraforming of Mars, is it ethical to terraform Mars?
Totally. Yeah, no, and that's a really interesting discussion.
I think it's a really interesting. Kim Stanley Robinson, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I had not considered the effects it would have outside a star system. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I've read it, but that's one of the things they mention. It's an old book now. It's from 1990 or so. But a lot of what's in it is because it's dealing with stuff that's so far ahead. Might be still of interest to listeners, and they talk a little bit certainly about cryonics. Certainly about cryonics. I don't know if they talk about mind uploading or that. I can't remember.
What's your opinion on being cryogenically frozen?
That it's pretty cool.
So you'd be all for it. You'd hop straight into the refrigerator if the technology happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you as well. I think there's... The only drawback for me would be that if I were to hop in a fridge now and be awoken in 300 years, adapting to society might be difficult.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the only thing that would trouble me.
Transmetropolitan deals with this very, very well.
What is Transmetropolitan?
It's a comic series from the 90s.
Okay.
Written by Warren Ellis, I think. Sorry, give me a sec, because I was confused him with another comics writer. Yes, Warren Ellis. The comic author Warren Ellis, not the musician Warren Ellis.
Okay.
It's set in... It's a sort of a post-cyberpunk set in this huge city on the east coast of America. You could say that it's New York, or it's kind of like the sprawl, like it's kind of New York to Boston to Atlanta kind of megacity sort of thing. And it follows a journalist called Spider Jerusalem. And he's kind of like it's kind of like Hunter S. Thompson in the 23rd century.
Cool.
He's a very, very similar character. And it's all about like the different societies and stuff that have grown up in this time since. They never give like specific dates or like specific locations or anything.
Okay.
But it's East Coast America at some point in a post-cyberpunk future. But one of the things in the society is people that have been woken up from cryonic storage.
Okay.
And they're just kind of abandoned.
Oh, that's really bad.
So like the say your condition for being revived is like it's 200 years later, or some specific thing has happened, like all your relatives are dead, or whatever, or your savings have come to a certain amount, whatever it is.
Yeah,
you're woken up, but society has just changed so much. So there's one issue or storyline about a woman from the 20th century being revived, and she's just kind of woken up from the storage facility, given a blanket and a coat and a pair of shoes.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah,
it's a really, really good comic. I'd highly recommend it.
I will totally
show it. That's a very, very good episode.
I think if I were to be frozen, I'd like to be like legally reassured there'd be some sort of like rehabilitation on the other end.
Yeah.
You know, like if they're just like, okay, right, let's get the next 50 out of freezing and out of storage and put them out in the streets. That I wouldn't sign up then, you know.
But you never know, like, what might change while you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is a tricky one, but like the idea of being able to, you know, like to see things that we know we're not going to see. Like example, Mars. What?
Yeah. Sorry, no, you finish out.
Mars is going to have a ring system in a few million years.
Oh, because Phobos and Deimos are going to break up.
Phobos, I think, or is it Deimos? One of them is breaking up, not the other one. And that's going to have like a sort of interim, unstable ring system. And I would totally want to be around to see the pictures of Mars with a ring.
For sure.
You know, and like, I know that's not reason to like, you know, freeze yourself and potentially put yourself through the trauma of trying to adapt to like life millions of years in the future. But those sort of things, I would love to see those sort of things, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 points to make there.
Go for it. I have an additional point to make as well. So you first, then me.
One each, then?
One each. Let's do it.
Okay. I missed the obvious example of fiction dealing with readjusting to a scary future after being cryonically frozen.
Oh, Superman.
No.
I'm joking. Yeah, go on.
Futurama.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's like, yeah. It's weird. When you say fiction, cartoons always have something, they're always in a different part of my brain.
Non-fiction?
No, they're just, it's not a logical filing system I have going on up here, right? Like, when you go fiction, I go, okay, what book have I read that has this? But yeah, you're dead right. Yeah, Fry is cryogenically frozen, isn't he?
He is, yeah, that's the premise.
He comes from what era? Like the 90s, isn't he?
He gets frozen on New Year's Eve, 1999.
Okay, and then Futurama is set in what year-ish?
He's frozen for 1,000 years, so and it's set like 1,000 years ahead of when it's aired, pretty much.
Oh man, they really didn't do much about like inventing new technology. Christ, you see the state of their spaceships for 1,000 years in the future. Lord. Also, the CG is pretty dodgy for 1,000 years in the future. What's good? Great show. My point.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned about the ethical implications of the Dyson sphere thing.
Yeah.
And how it will block out stars' light.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, that if you construct the solid shell...
Yeah.
So we usually, like, the solid shell we think of as blocking out all the light. But I think it's really important to note that it only blocks out light in the visible spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, but this is not something that everyone's, like, immediately aware of. Like, if there was Dyson spheres around every single near-Earth star, we wouldn't be able to see them with our eyes, but our telescopes and our technology would pick them up just as brightly. Yeah. And that's a little detail. You what?
Our robo eyes.
Our robo eyes, exactly. It's just a little detail that I don't think many people are aware of or pay attention to, and I just want to chuck that in. Mm-hmm. So you have a point. Go.
about being alive to see the ring system around Mars and stuff. Another thing mentioned in that book, Great Mambo Chicken and the Transhuman Condition, is the Last Proton Club.
The Last Proton Club?
Yeah.
Oh, can I take a stab at this?
Yep.
Is this like a very, very, very far future where all matter has decayed and this club is based on theorizing about how the universe will be once the last photon blinks out of existence?
Be more ambitious.
Be more ambitious?
A more ambitious guess than that.
Okay, well, I'm on the right lines.
Yes, you're about the last proton, far future, proton decay, all that stuff, yeah.
Okay, they are... Oh, are they like a rebel faction that is seeking to bring about this, like... to bring about, like...
Accelerate proton decay.
Accelerate the natural destruction of the universe?
Edgar, that is the most amazing, like, supervillain idea.
What can I say? I'm a creative genius, you know?
No, this is an actual group of people.
It's an actual... Like, group of people, like, alive now? No.
Well, I don't know if they still are. They certainly want to be.
Tell me now, I'm really intrigued.
Okay, think about being alive to see the rings around Mars.
Yeah.
It's a group of people who are interested in longevity and cryonics and stuff, and things like mind uploading, who are determined to be present to observe the decay of the last proton.
Oh, okay. I was very close, and I somehow overshot the mark a ton there. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if I would be one of those people. It's a pretty dull experience, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, think of all the other awesome stuff you'll see in the intervening quadrillion years.
Oh yeah, but if you were not in stasis.
Oh no! I mean, like, you couldn't be held in stasis.
Oh, you couldn't be in stasis, yeah.
Because matter would be decaying.
Matter wouldn't be there, yeah. So how do they intend to... Oh, because it's uploaded. Because they're uploaded. So, as in, they will live as a computer and then they will...
But computers are going to decay as well.
Man, I'm struggling to see how they're going to be around when the last proton's there.
They haven't figured out that bit yet.
Oh, right.
They reckon like that's an engineering problem.
It's a hell of an engineering problem, isn't it?
It's a big engineering problem, that's true.
I've got this great idea, except it totally will never happen.
Well, no, they'll figure out something else. Like, they'll figure out how to transfer consciousness into a delicate interplay of photons. Or...
parallel universe hopping.
Yeah, possibly.
See, look, I'm an ideas man, you know? I feel like I've already come up with the premise of a great story just in the last couple of minutes, you know? They just don't make characters like me anymore, Bill.
I'm going to write that down, accelerate proton decay. And
That's going to be... Okay, all right, we're going to make that the title of the podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's an album there. That's a sci-fi concept album there.
I'm just a genius. On that note, shall we call an end to the main topic there?
I think so. I think that was a good run.
Do you want to head into the green room?
Let's
do it. Do you want to start? Do you want to tell me some of your adventures in Billland?
Adventures in Billland. I haven't been up to a lot recently.
We've been doing some composing. No.
Yeah, no. I finished a piece there on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Cool. Do you want to tell us about that?
Not a lot to tell. I wrote a piece for clarinet, French horn, soprano, organ, violin, and cello, which is going to be performed in just under a month. Cool.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Happening in, I assume, Dublin.
Yeah, in Trinity Chapel in Dublin.
Cool. If I'm about, I shall try and pop in. I assume this is open to the public, yeah?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Cool. Happy with your work?
For the most part, yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I've kind of tried some new things in it, and they went reasonably well. Cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, because you were crazy, you were very, very hard to get this past week or so.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of work, so I'm working my usual 5 or 6 days a week, and then writing this on top of it, and I've got exams coming up. My exams will all be finished by now. Actually, piano students doing exams today.
Oh, your students' exams. I was like, what are you studying?
No, my students' exams. And I was going to be doing a course on Coursera this month, but I didn't have the time when I had this piece to write, so I'm quite upset about that. I was going to be doing the linguistics course, but...
You were going to be doing a linguistics course?
Yeah.
Very
Miracles
cool.
of Human Language, I think it's called, on Coursera, so I'll just do it the next time it comes around in a few months.
Oh man, if we're still doing the podcast then, which I hope we will be, will you definitely tell us about that?
Yeah, sure.
I would love to hear about that. That'd be
Certainly.
Great.
I'm looking forward to doing it. Because I signed up for it like during the summer, so I've been looking forward to it for a while.
Yeah, because you did one on a Coursera thing on composing,
songwriting. Yeah,
songwriting. Yeah.
Something like pop songwriting. I did that a few months ago. What else have I been doing? Continuing learning to drive. I've got all of my official lessons finished.
You learned to drive?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. How's driving going?
That.
No,
it's going fine. Yeah, it's going fine.
What's the death toll so far?
I mean, like somewhere south of Stalin still.
I thought you were going to be like a pigeon, 2 cats, a dog, and a sheep.
All right.
South of Stalin, I love it.
Just all hedgehogs.
I have a little driving anecdote.
Do you?
That I could possibly share. I think it's a little bit humorous. I don't drive, as you probably know. I
do.
I am a rubbish driver. The times where people have attempted to teach me have not worked out very well. And the funniest time was when my mother, when I was a teenager, took me down to a place called Kermungan, and it's a place local to us here. And basically what it is, it's a really cool little area. It's a school with a huge open sort of tarmac car park area that leads onto a pier and onto a lake. Right? So it's very kind of picturesque. It's really, really cool. So she took me down there and she was like, big open car park. You could just learn, well, I'll teach you how to drive here. And so she tried to, and the net outcome of everything was that I ended up parking the car in the lake. Yeah. Well, it wasn't like I drowned the car. I parked it in maybe, I don't know, a few centimeters of water. Inadvertently, because I panicked and I couldn't find the brakes and everything went haywire. And so she'd like get out and walk in the water around the driver's seat, and it was very funny. At that time I went, maybe this driving thing isn't for me.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe
for me,
it's
no.
not. So yeah, that's Edgar doesn't drive for that reason.
I haven't parked in any lakes yet.
Good. South of Stalin and completely dry. Very good.
Or crashed or any of that crack. So everything's gone fine. The good thing about going to the actual proper driver teachers, which you have to do here, you have to get like 12 lessons from an accredited teacher, is that they have pedals as well. So they will stop you from like crashing into lorries or parking in lakes and things. Yeah. So that's good. I've got my 12 lessons finished and I'm just going to practice for a while before my test.
Cool. Very cool.
I've been reading a fair bit recently. I read the Hunger Games trilogy a couple of weekends ago.
Oh, right. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
This strikes me something that is that the first time reading it?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. What's it like? Any good?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of the films, or at least the first 2 films.
Yeah, I like Hunger Games as well. I think it's a really cool world.
It's fleshed out a bit better in the books, the world is. And some of the things I thought were a bit odd about the world building in the film, kind of things that didn't really make sense, are much clearer in the book. But I think I prefer the films overall because they're so visually impressive. They're so well designed.
Yeah.
The aesthetics in them are incredible. Like there's like 3 very strong, separate visual design themes in the first film. You've got like the crushing poverty of like the Appalachian District 12, and they're all wearing like homespun clothes and things. And then the soldiers turn up, and they're like real classic science fiction, like 1970s kind of stuff. And then the capital is all like new romantics. You know, like they're all like Boy George, and they're like really kind of made up and stuff. It's such a visually impressive movie. Yeah,
like hyper neo-romanticism. Like it's crazy. That film is beautiful. Those films are really good, really, really good.
But the book has kind of a classic sci-fi element to it as well, in the way that they sort of real offhandedly describe some of the advanced technology. It's a real sort of early to mid 20th century way of dealing with things. Like if you jump off the building, an electric field throws you back up. So it's just like, an electric field does it, it's fine.
Hand wavium.
Yeah, totally. But in a real kind of retro vintage kind of way, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like again, I haven't read the books, but just going on the movies, you don't ever feel like the hand wavium is too much. Like,
No, not at all.
It fits in. It all fits in very, very nicely, and it's a very, very consistent and logical setting. It's really good.
Yeah,
really, really good.
And I finally got. Remember, I mentioned the Sharp series before.
Yes.
The Napoleonic. I finally got a load of those books, so I'm reading them in internal chronological order, so not the order they were published in. I mean,
cool.
So I'm actually and they're tons of fun fighting the French, and
probably
the French are really terrible. Like it's really like very, very awful about the French. They're like every one of them is a war criminal. And I'm getting kind of sick of this, actually. You might have seen me, I was talking about this on Facebook a while ago. I'm getting a little bit sick of all this fiction in which the British Empire are the good guys. Because they really weren't.
Yeah, no, they weren't. Yeah, that's true. I think more generally, though, I think everyone is kind of getting sick of fiction that's too black and white. Like, these are good guys, these are bad guys, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in general, but it's just like, particularly like the British Empire, who... Like, okay, they abolished the slave trade during the Napoleonic Wars, but like their actual like navy was still based on literal slavery.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
like for all that time, and you know, the genocide and colonialism and everything, and this.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Now, to be fair.
Okay, Napoleon, you know, did a lot of terrible things and was kind of a massive hypocrite and stuff. But you know, liberty, equality, and fraternity. He had some nice ideas as well, and. Kind of, I don't know. I'm getting a bit tired of the British Empire just being portrayed as do-gooders.
Anyone wants to send in some reading recommendations that portray the British Empire in a negative light, please do.
Specifically with reference to the Napoleonic Wars.
The most niche of things, like.
That's me. I have a couple of books that portray the Napoleonic Wars from the French point of view. Because as I said, I asked this on Facebook a while ago, and I got a link to some. There's I don't have it saved on my phone. I can't find it here either. Where did I save that list? There's one of I think it's called Seven Men from Gascony, something like that, which is about 7 friends who join the French army and fight at Waterloo.
Okay.
Yeah, which I'd quite like to read.
Can I ask, what is this fascination with French history and Napoleon and Napoleonic era?
It's not specifically French history, it's the Napoleonic era, and I just think it's a really interesting part of time.
Alright, sell it to me in one line.
Napoleon was a huge badass.
Oh, no, hang on, no, you can't sell it to me on Napoleon is a badass. Like, we get that. Like, I appreciate that. I know how badass he is.
Well, that wasn't the end.
Okay, alright, but you only have a finite number of words. Do it.
Well, I was going to get it in one sentence. Napoleon was a huge badass who accompanied a vast amount in his lifetime.
Okay.
And was possibly one of the greatest generals of all time. And he got beaten by Wellesley, which makes Wellesley even cooler. And also Wellesley was Irish, which is pretty great.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So it's Napoleon, really, then?
No, I guess there's more to it than that. It's also like all the interactions with like in empire and colonialism at the time, when that was like becoming, it was kind of the beginning of sort of late colonialism.
Okay.
And like the British Empire in India, that's like, all that is fascinating. And the kind of the evolution of sort of Enlightenment ideals, and how in a way like that Enlightenment ideals, we could say they either were corrupted or the unpleasant parts of them were exposed around that time.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's good. That's cool. Yeah.
Because, you know, the Enlightenment is, you know, so much about, like, the equality of men and all that.
And that,
you know,
clearly didn't happen everywhere.
And it clearly didn't happen, and they came up with all this, you know, pseudoscientific ideas about race and things to justify the power structures that, like, required things like slavery and colonialism to exist, which are so clearly, if you look at them from our point of view, so clearly wrong. Against the ideas. No, I don't even mean wrong on a you know, a neutral sense, kind of an objective sense. They're wrong, and they go against what people from the Enlightenment claim to believe.
Okay, so they go against their own ideals.
Yeah, they so the Enlightenment happened, and it was like, the equality of man and all this good stuff, and getting rid of aristocratic privilege and the end of monarchy and absolute power of individuals just based on their birthright. But there was so much it didn't dismantle, or then in some ways it allowed racism of a modern kind to exist, because I don't think historically the kind of racism we think of nowadays really exists. People were xenophobic and they didn't trust outsiders and things, but they didn't have these ideas that people were inherently subhuman or inherently inferior. I think that's a modern invention in a lot of respects.
Yeah, no, you see, you're selling to me better now.
Yeah, but Napoleon was so cool, dude. And the way he changed fighting, the way he fought the war that went against the way it was normally fought at the time, and he revolutionized the use of artillery. There's so much that he did with respect to war. And the 100 Days, man, the 100 Days is the coolest thing in history. And then if you read Temeraire, she invents a kind of aerial warfare that was appropriate to that tech level and the way people fought, and then she reinvents it in a way that is believable for Napoleon to have done.
Yeah, those books seem awesome.
Yeah.
They seem incredible. I will, if the captain picks up a physical copy of them, I will definitely read it.
I can possibly lend you mine when you come down next month.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, I will definitely accept that if you want. I'd be very, very interested. And then at least I think I might be able to at least partake in your love of this era. I feel somewhat like a Philistine. I'm I don't know.
And also, it's just the aesthetics are cool. They've got cool uniforms and stuff.
I don't think that.
Really?
Think I think there's better eras for uniforms. Like ancient Greek, great uniforms.
What, just a cuirass and a shield?
Yeah, and then I'm not sure how accurate.
Togas.
No, I'm not sure how accurate movies are then, because all I'm basing this is on movies. But the chest plates, the metal chest plates, and then you have maybe this is Roman. Sorry, Roman. The metal chest plates, and then the red skirty thing and the dagger holster.
Yeah. Roman uniforms could be pretty boss, all right.
I think they're better than Napoleonic era uniforms. They all just
the Trojan helmets though. You know the ones I mean.
Oh, with the broom on top.
Yeah, with the kind of crest thing on top.
Yeah, they're cool. I made one of them for a nativity play one time for myself.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I paper mache'd a Trojan helmet and then tore apart a broom and stuck it on the top.
That's class.
I easily had the best costume that year by a long shot.
There was a giant one of those in a park near where I used to live in York.
A giant nativity play?
Yes, Edgar, a giant nativity play. A giant Trojan helmet.
Oh, really? Why?
No idea. It was just a sculpture in the middle of a park. It was Rowntree Park, actually. You know Rowntree as in fruit pastilles?
I do.
Yeah, they were founded in York, and there's a park near where I lived called Rowntree Park, and it was in there. The rest of the park was covered in goose poo, but there was this giant helmet, and you could go and sit inside it and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Anyhow, I have some stories.
Go for it.
If that's okay with you. The first thing that's been happening in Edgar's life, I suppose, is that I have found out that in Dublin, one can buy salmiak.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the captain found out.
My Finland present is going to be pretty rubbish now.
I reckon continental salmiak is still going to be a lot better.
Okay.
But a place called Mr. Sim's Old Sweet Shop, and that's old with an E and shop with two P's and an E.
Of course.
And I haven't been there because the captain has picked up salmiak for me from there. I've yet to go in myself. But there is a place to go and buy salty licorice in this country. And
That's
when
amazing.
I found that out, I'm not lying, Bill, I was close to tears. Close to tears. And so, and leading off from this, people have been sending me licorice-related stuff.
Good.
Tweets and things like that. And was it the React YouTube channel? Where the kids react to something?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a salmiak episode, and I got hit with a couple of tweets because of that. So I want to start a thing, right? I'm going to try and start a thing. I'm not sure if this podcast has enough people power behind it to do it, but I want to put it out there for posterity, okay?
Mm-hmm.
licorice is not the most liked thing in the world, all right? So every time there is someone, especially someone notable or someone famous who likes licorice, this is a win, okay? Right? So what I want people to do is, if anyone hears about a celebrity or anyone notable liking licorice, can they tweet at me, right, with the hashtag Team Licorice, okay? So like Bill McGrath is on Team Licorice. I want to know every case of when someone is on...
No, I'm not.
You're totally on Team... You like licorice.
No, I don't. I hate it.
What? You talked about how we're going to go and have like a licorice team date one time.
What are you on about, Edgar?
No, you remember you said that there's this one Polish place in Dublin, or Czech place, that does like licorice flavoured drinks, and I was like, jokingly, I was like, we should go on a date there.
I like Cafola. Yeah, I like Cafola.
And you don't like actual licorice?
I don't actually. No, I can't stand aniseed flavour or licorice flavour stuff. I can't stand it at all.
Bill, we're gonna have to stop the podcast. We can't go on anymore. We can't be friends anymore.
You knew this. I've said this so many times.
No. You've never said this so many times.
I definitely have.
Like, we've discussed licorice, but I don't think you've ever pointed out that you dislike it.
Are you sure?
You're making me doubt myself, but I was fairly sure about 2 seconds ago. In any case, so Bill is not on Team Licorice, right? So we need to find people that are on Team Licorice. So far, I know of one notable person, at least in the YouTube realm, and beyond, that is on Team Licorice, and that is John Green. Right. The writer and owner of all things internety and vlogger extraordinaire is, and I quote, strongly in favour of licorice. So he's on Team Licorice. So send me tweets. Hashtag Team Licorice. Anyone who likes licorice, go for it. So that's point number one. Point number two. I am, Bill, an imperfect human being, I found out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try contain my surprise.
So, and I say this only like mildly joking. I've like perfect vision, like perfect hearing, no asthma, no like inherited illnesses or anything. So overall, like no allergies. So overall, like Edgar's quite okay as far as human beings go, right?
You got perfect vision.
I have perfect vision. Yes.
I got my eyes tested about a year ago, and she told me that I actually had prophetic vision.
You have prophetic vision?
Yeah. She said I could see like 5 years into the future.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah. 2020 vision.
Oh, God. That's a terrible joke, man.
That's a great joke, Edgar, and you know it.
Oh, the minute I said perfect vision, were you like, oh boy, he's opened the gate?
Yes, I was.
But anyhow, yeah. So overall, I'm okay as far as, you know, sacks of mostly water go. But so I found out that my flaw, one of my big flaws in terms of like ailments, I suppose, is that I am terrified of everything.
What?
Yeah, no, I only recently found this out. We had a discussion with the captain, and we listed my phobias, and the list is extensive. Right? Okay. So I am afraid of spiders.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm terrified of spiders. The bigger they get, the worse my reaction is to them. I'm afraid of heights.
Okay.
All right. I am claustrophobic.
Okay.
All right. I am, in kind of particular circumstances, afraid of the dark. Yeah. Like the most terrifying thing is long, thin corridors that are dark. So if I can't in any way see the end of the corridor, it's terrifying. Like absolutely terrifying. I break out in sweats and it's awful. So there's that. And I also have, and this is a new one, I like stumbled across this randomly on the internet. I have what's known as, I believe, trypophobia. The holes. I am terrified of tiny holes, and I did not realize this was a thing until I stumbled across this word. So for people, I'm assuming all the other phobias are fairly self-explanatory. Trypophobia, I think it's called trypophobia. Anyways, trypophobia is a fear of things that have tiny, tiny holes.
Yeah, lots and lots of regular kind of tiny holes.
Lots and lots of regular tiny holes. And then what makes it even more terrifying is if the tiny holes are partially filled. And you laugh, right? But even saying this now is causing my skin to crawl. And I first discovered this when I was very, very young. And I remember making pancakes. I learned the recipe for pancakes. And then I was always really bummed out because my pancakes weren't really fluffy. And so I made them one time with baking powder in them.
Right.
And the baking powder obviously causes them to rise. But how stuff rise when you cook it is that like air pockets form.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when if you fry pancakes and they have baking powder in them, the air pockets form and they open up into holes. And I remember very, very clearly cooking these pancakes and having to stop halfway through and just put them away. Because I was looking at them and like I was sweating and it was just really uncomfortable.
Weird.
Yeah, and I had chalked that up to just I was feeling bad that day or like a smell or something else. I'd like passed it away. And then only when I found out that there was a word for this phobia did I realize, oh God, I have that phobia. And yeah, so that was kind of horrifying because I had to go Google the term, right? And if you Google the term, the images that show up are if you have this, it is the worst. And they should have like a content warning. Like they really should, because I nearly got sick the first time I seen it. I was like, oh my God. So that was a mildly interesting thing. Edgar has a fear of tiny holes.
For people who aren't familiar with it, I don't know if they're not really getting it, there's a pretty good subreddit about trypophobia.
Oh, I found that subreddit. Now, I didn't click on it because it was either a subreddit designed to get a response out of tiny holes or a subreddit designed to talk about the condition of being fearing tiny holes.
It's mostly pictures, but they don't have thumbnails.
Oh,
and anything that's like really bad, it does have like it says trigger on it and stuff. I get there's probably some discussions. As well.
No, this is not a thing I'll ever click on.
That's fair enough, but for people who are curious, that's there.
I'll throw the link in the show notes, but I'm not opening it. But it's mad, and the thing is, mine isn't too bad because I began testing it then, like seeing, like googling, like what are the common triggers of this, and I began putting myself in those situations to see do I have a response, and I found out that I don't have it very often, but when I do, it's very bad. Like a common thing for people with trypophobia is they're afraid of strawberries.
Right.
Because strawberries, and I never really bothered to pay attention to this, they have those tiny holes in their skin and they're filled with a seed, but not quite filled. Now, I don't have a response.
Right.
Yeah, and there's loads of other like holes in cement, another big one that people have big responses to. I don't have responses to them, thank God, because imagine walking down the street and looking at your feet and going, oh God, this is terrifying. And so, I never realized how bad this can be. And I read people's stories about how, like, it can be, if you have it really bad, like, debilitating. You know, like, unable to leave the house sort of debilitating. Like, you know, sand can elicit a response. Concrete, strawberries, anything that's in any way pocked or has little holes in them. It's like, it's crazy. Crazy world.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see how people would find it kind of gross or uncomfortable or whatever. I don't really have that phobia, but it makes sense to me. I mean, obviously, like, it is by definition irrational or whatever, but I can kind of get it. I can dig it.
Yeah, because there's something almost like diseased about it. You know, like if you see a surface that has these little holes and stuff, it's almost like it's got an infection. You know.
Yeah.
There's a response of sort of like that you need to get away from it because it's going to like infect you. You know. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm actually really thankful I now know the name for that thing. And then trying to explain it to people is hilarious. They're like, so, holes? And I'm like, yes. They're like, but
like small holes when there's lots of them.
yeah, and it can't be big holes because like a pothole is fine. I'm okay with that. I don't look at my cup and go, oh my God, this is terrifying. And they just don't get it at all. And then when I show them pictures or link them to things, they always go, oh, I totally get it. It's really gross. Like kind of how you said. But I can't express the feeling of your skin crawling and the sweat and the anxiety. Oh, it's crazy. Crazy.
I don't think I really have any phobias. I've got some weird things, like some weird sensations that I find very unpleasant.
Oh, do you wanna fill us in on some?
Writing on chalkboards.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's physically very uncomfortable. Like, I get uncomfortable thinking about, like, the sensation of the chalk on the board.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Do you know what's one for me, actually?
No?
Eating green apples.
Really?
Yeah, when you hear the sound of teeth slicing into like really not they're really hard green apples, so like it's slicing into the hardness, and you get that shearing sound. It's terrible. It's awful. I think I got that from my father. My father was like that as well. And the funny thing was, when my sister was growing up, my sister's a lot younger than I am. She loved green apples. And she would constantly, as a young child, eat green apples in front of him, and he didn't want to just leave her, so he just sucked it up and sat there, and you could see him being in absolute agony.
God.
But yeah, do you have any other weird ones?
We've got this one specific saucepan in my house here, in my parents' house, that I don't like cooking with, because the sensation of like any tools against the bottom of it is kind of like a chalkboard sensation, so I really hate using it. That's oddly specific. I guess it's whatever metal that one's made from.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that. The captain has a thing, nails against certain fabrics.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, like my pillow at the moment is made of, in quotes, the wrong fabric, and if I run my hands across it, it sends her daft. Not sure if it's a phobia. I think it's just irritating to eardrums. You know?
Yeah, an unpleasant, a peculiarly unpleasant sensation.
It's weird. Humans are crazy, man.
Yep.
Don't understand it. Do not understand it. And then I suppose one last point I'll finish on before we log off. Yeah.
Yep.
We have inadvertently adopted a cat here.
All right.
I just wanted to drop, and I named the cat, and I was torn between two names. It was either going to be Dog the cat or Duck the cat.
Kevin.
Oh yeah, I always wanted to name it a real serious human name, like Mary Jane, and give it a middle name, and then have it and use your last name as well. But yeah, no. So I settled on Duck the cat.
What kind of cat is it?
It's a mongrel type thing. Oh, interesting facts about this cat, actually. It's black, orangey and white. It's a very, very weird colour. But I found out, a student has told me, and I believe this to be true, that if you have a 3-coloured cat, it's only ever going to be female.
Yes. Yeah, I think I read something about this years ago, I think.
I have no idea.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, so I had no idea that was a thing, which makes for sexing your cat very, very handy.
Well, in one specific instance.
Yeah, in that, you don't have to lift it up and open its legs and be all like, hello! You can just go, 3 colours. You're a female. Well done. So anyhow, Duck the cat. Duck the cat is our new cat, and I personally am very, very happy with the name. Oh, I have one extra story.
No, too late. You said that was the last one.
Oh, no, I have to.
End now.
All right, okay. US citizens, there's a thing in Ireland called the Late Late Toy Show. And this is like an annual thing that happens where a late night talk show is turned into a toy show. It's kind of like a toy showcase for parents to see what stuff they can buy their kids for Christmas.
Yeah.
All right?
Like the Late Late Show has been... It's our main kind of late night talk show. It's every Friday since the 60s. Yeah, and so once a year before Christmas, they have a toy episode.
And the Late Late Show is like an institution. It is as Irish as things come. So anyhow, the news here is that my sister has made it onto the toy show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so what happens again to our US citizens is that kids can audition to go on and try out toys, to review them, or to go on and perform, to be like the musical acts, in between the toys. And so my sister and the local orchestra have made it on.
Brilliant.
Which is really cool. And it's on tonight, actually. In fact, I think she just left to go to Dublin. Now, I bring this up for one reason and one reason alone. I told her, right, and I really hope she didn't think I was joking, right? I told her when she's on stage, look directly into your nearest camera, right, and do the Doge eyes. You know Doge eyes?
As in the meme Doge?
As in the meme, where you look to the side and you look the other way with your eyes. And
I was
like, you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to make sure you do this. And she was like, okay, Edgar. And I didn't get any sort of, I won't do this. So perhaps tonight she might troll on a sort of national level. I really hope she does, you know?
We can only hope. What does she play?
She plays violin.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
It's a strings orchestra. Well, I say play in a very loose sense.
Edgar, that's your sister.
Yeah, but no, she could be really good. She just never practices.
Okay.
This is why I say playing. I mean, like, she picks it up half an hour every week, and the entirety of those 30 minutes is in lessons.
Right.
So, you know. So, hopefully, if she ends up trolling the Late Late Toy Show with her Doge face, she might become a bit of quasi-internet sensation.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Alright, dude, shall we call it there?
Let's call it there.
3 hours and 10 minutes. It's a new record.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. The day I needed to be finished early.
Alright, I'll talk to you later, man, alright?
Later, boss. Bye.
Bye. The vexillology? Is it
Vexillological.
Or what's the subreddit called?
Vexillology.
Vexillology.
Oh god, I'm not sure. Now I'm not sure.
Trying to go check it up before we continue.
Vexillology, I'm sure it is.
Vexillology. So bear with me.
Vexillology.
What?
Vexillology.
That's why I said vexillology.
Vexillology.
Vexillology. What?
Vexillology.
That's what I said.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I know that's what you said. Dude, what about mine?
You're such a troll.
Oh, I was agreeing with you. I was reinforcing you.
Oh, you're so... Oh, God damn it, Bill.